Hello, 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 and welcome to the Keys to Success show. Here's your girl, Miss Lee, full-time real estate entrepreneur and investor based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. And on the Keys to Success show, we interview local business professionals and entrepreneurs to discuss some of their keys to success in their business and in their life. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Mr. Robert Yancy, full-time real estate investor and agent based out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Robert, thank you so very much for taking the time to be on the show today. Definitely look forward to hearing some of your keys to success. If you would take a moment and introduce yourself to our viewers.
No, thank you so much. I'm very, very honored to be here. Just like you, my name is Robert Yancy.
I don't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Nope, gotta take it out.
Okay, can you hear me?
No.
No?
Robert is having some technical difficulties. Let me see what's going on here. One moment.
Oh, Mike is muted. Hold on a second.
Hello? I cannot hear you. Let me see one moment.
We were just, did you mute me? Did you mute me by some chance?
Let's have you log off and come right back. So, of course, you guys know the show is live, so sometimes we have technical difficulties. That's just the name of the game. But we continue to proceed forward no matter what. Robert will join us back here in a moment. Not quite sure what happened to our sound, but hopefully you guys can hear us pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and log in and just make sure that you guys. Ooh, have you log off and come right back. Yes, I can hear you now.
Perfect.
I just checked the live, and so they could hear you, but I could not hear you for some reason. So okay. You're back. Thank you so very much for being on the show. And if you would take a moment and introduce yourself to our viewers.
No, thank you very much for having me. I'm actually excited to be here to share, with whatever I can help people with. But my name is Robert Yancy. I'm the owner and founder of the Unique Group, which we'll get into in everything that our company entails. But I started off as a full-time real estate investor. So through that, I basically just circled all of our additional ventures around real estate. So we have the agency portion. We also have the real estate consulting portion, and then a few other companies that go in with that. But it really is, honestly, it's what you see is what you get. We do this every day, 7 days a week. We don't stop. We love it. We're excited. And I have been personally investing since 2006. I was one of the people who did get caught in the crash. Thankfully I was young when it happened, so I didn't get hurt as bad as most of my associates, and I was able to take a little bit of time to rebound and figure out what was going on. And ever since 2009, we've just been running.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. So you've been in the business since 2006, investing in real estate. What initially got you into real estate, and where are you from, the Atlanta area?
Well, my initial career, I actually went to school for culinary arts. So I cooked professionally for 6 years. So wow. I grew up cooking and I loved it. And, going through school, I know I didn't want to go to the Army. I know I didn't necessarily want to go to a 4-year university. But so I basically wanted to try to hone in on a skill that I knew that I had. And went to school for culinary arts, got out, and I, bounced around from, a few companies, and so I landed with a company that I worked for about 6 years. And the gentleman, and I actually just talked to him about 5 minutes ago, a gentleman by the name of Vernon Monfort was the regional kitchen manager, regional back of the house person. And we started opening up new stores together, and I started spending a lot of time with him. And it turns out that he was flipping houses on the side. And he just, it was as simple as he leaned over to me and he said, "Hey," he's like, "You ever thought about flipping houses?" And I said, "No, I never thought about it." Within 45 days, I had purchased my first property.
Wow, that is amazing.
And it's been. Oh, you couldn't tell. You can't convince me to talk about a job or nothing ever since then. That first real estate check hit, I was like, I'm out.
Yes, this is it. That is amazing. So 45 days later, did you take a training? Like what? Like you heard about it, and then how did you know?
It was horrible. It was horrible. I just listened to him. He said, "Yo, do this and do that, and I'll get you set up with the loan, and I'll do this and I'll do that." And it wasn't his fault because he really didn't know the business itself, but he was just kind of passing along the nuggets. So obviously everything I bought got foreclosed on. But
Oh,
the experience of it at one point, I mean, you gotta understand, I still had a job, and I was 22 years old, and I had $1.2 million worth of property. That's insane with no training, and it happened just like that. But we lost it just like that.
wow. And at the time, did you have rentals? Did you have people in their tenants in their renting?
It was both, but we had everything was wrong. So the reason why, whenever I tell people the story, and if when I used to do the speaking engagements and stuff like that, people would always wonder how it would be so excited about, I guess you could say, our failures. I said, man, I'm just glad I learned it then and I didn't learn it now. So
Yeah.
I had tenants in every property, but we were negative cash flow every month. People don't remember that, but we were like, no, we only got to hold on to it for 6 months, and we're gonna be able to flip it. That don't work.
Wow. That is amazing. And you kept a positive attitude, it seems, throughout the entire process, even though, like you said, it was a learning experience. Would you say it's really important to keep that positive outlook no matter what, because you are learning?
Yeah, well, the one thing that I tell any consulting client, I do a lot of consulting for. It's not a business that I promote at all. It's just something that I feel like is a duty of mine because of what I've been through. So it goes from life consulting as well, and it's just all into business. And a lot of people, especially today, even my contractor, the guy that I'll talk to you more about him, that he really taught me the business. This was the year that he said, Rob, he said he thought I hit the lottery because my attitude had completely changed. And I said, man, realize that no matter what happens in this business or in life, you have to look at what it could have been worse. And then two, what did you learn from that situation or scenario? And the fact that you're still here to get it right the next day, that's something to get excited about. Like every time something bad happens, you need to throw a party because you say, yo, it could have been worse.
Right. It absolutely could have been worse. Absolutely, 110%. And that's a great attitude to have. I know a lot of people, things happen, and they're upset and they're angry. I mean, I guess that's what you would tell them, that it could have been worse.
Yep. And also this is another key. You can never get mad when it's your fault. This is the new approach that I have. Everything that happens, whether a deal goes bad and an investment goes bad, which doesn't happen very often, or if I invested with somebody and it went completely sideways, everything that happens is my fault.
Yes. I do
Everything.
the exact thing. Assume
Everything.
responsibility for everything. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it keeps you positive, and then also, but you have to have, and I think in anything, like, so we're going to be talking, so a lot of things that I say are going to be reference to life and to business. You have to be positive. You have to focus on, don't live in the moment, but always thinking about the future. So like I was just doing a negotiation yesterday, and I was talking to one of the guys, and we're bringing on Eats by Unique is going to be another arm of our business, which is going to be restaurant franchising. So I'm in the process of negotiating our first one right now, and we're about to sign the paperwork. And I told somebody, I said, man, they was like, damn, you just go and you go and you go. I said, I'm not even worried about today. I was like, what I'm doing now, this is the jump start for next year. So it's like this. So if you're always thinking about, what's to come 5 or 6 months from now, you really don't have a lot of time to let something so small keep you bonded right here. So that's always my attitude. Always just thinking ahead. It doesn't allow you to really wallow too much in what's going on right now.
Wow, that is an amazing mindset to have. Is this something that you've always had? Like, you've always had that positive mindset to say, hey, I'm learning the lesson.
Yes, for the most part, because I would say that I don't want to say that I didn't necessarily grow up around, I guess you say, the most positive, or like, it wasn't like this, right? So what I personally did was I started searching within myself because I knew that I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be a better man. I wanted to be, when you got into the family, I wanted to be a great husband. I want to be a great father. So you have to start doing things, and self-development outside of business is something that is like mandatory that you have to do, because if all you're focused on is money and business, that's what drives your emotions. But the moment that I shifted that self-development to internally and spiritually, everything changed. I mean, it made business completely change, because once you understand things on this side, this becomes easy. You know exactly how to handle every situation here because you're able to approach it, because on the inside, you're clear. Your mind is clear. You know, you've let go of past experiences. You've let go of you let go of what this person did to you. You let this go. So certain things don't even bother you. You know,
Wow.
so over this, so I would say the past 2.5 years is when it's really gone to a whole nother level. But I did a long time. I did searching of how to become this.
Wow. And was there anything in particular that you studied that really helped to catapult that mindset and that way of thinking?
It's a combination of both, and that's a great question. So, because initially it started off because I really wanted to become really good in business, there was two things that I did. One, I started finding really successful people that I couldn't necessarily touch them, but I actually started, following them on. And let me tell you something, man. YouTube,
it's amazing,
and resources like that. People don't understand the value that you have at your fingertips. That's free. And I've spent a lot of money to go to trainings and meet with some top people, and the stuff that's on YouTube is for free. So I would say the one of the first people that woke me up was the pastor of my church, Bishop Dale Bronner, at a Word of Faith, right? So I was taken there because it was the church that my mom went to, and whenever I knew I would just get down and I couldn't really figure a lot of things out. I would, just go to YouTube and just click on the video. And there's such an extensive library on there of things. And it seemed like every time that I would click on a sermon, that it was a message that was being sent to me. It was whatever I was dealing with, it was there. So then I got to a point where I started doing, and I still to this day do it daily. It's very rare that I don't do it, but there may be some days where I shoot up and I got to run out of the house, but I'll do it on YouTube while I'm driving to the thing. And, I know a couple other people that do the same thing. So that was the first thing. So that it calms you. It helps you just become whole and clear. And when this right here is clear, you are dangerous. A focused man is a dangerous man. A focused woman is dangerous. There's something you can't, there's things when you're focused and you're clear, there's certain things that can't happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Like people can't come and just sell you BS. You're like, no, I'm okay. And you don't even got to get attitude by you. No. Let's talk about something else.
Exactly.
So I spend a lot of time doing that. So I would say sometimes between an hour and a half to 2 hours a day. So sometimes it'll be depending on how much time I have, but at least an hour a day of that. And then I really took hold on to really trying to get more aggressive in business. And I'm not, and I know this is like a little bit commercial, but when I tell you that Grant Cardone and his teachings took my business to another level, just my aggression towards business, my expectations towards business, my expectations towards people around you that are in your business, everything changed when I heard, and so people listening, you have to get a teacher that fits your personality. And I'm a person that I grew up, I don't want to say a bad kid, but I was one of them kids. And the only way they could get to me was by being aggressive and getting in your face. And his teachings were like that. And he's the first person I've ever heard that would lay down business principles and what you're supposed to do just so raw. And I was like, man, you're right. So that became a part of like my life fitness, where it was like, you have to have this and you have to have this on a daily basis. Like, this is the nutrition that goes into me before I go out and I do business. Like there's some days, and I prefer not to answer the phone or an email until after I've gotten my daily word. There's some times where I wake up and I say, I'm not answering the phone. I see you buzzing. I see the text messages, because if I haven't gotten filled for that day, I could let that first phone call just take me completely out of my game. So it's stuff like that where you have to become very aware. And I became very aware of how I am. And that's what I do on a daily basis. And when I can tell you that the mindset that is given me over the past, 2 years, it's been incredible. And the past 2 years out of the other 11 have been the most prosperous years in business, because I wasn't focused on money. I wasn't focused on this. I was focused on bringing value to what I do. And by doing that, you have to become better as a person. So once that happened, man, it's just like every day is just kind of like, we wake up every day. I'm like, well, what are we going to do today?
Right.
And my
Wow.
team, and everybody that comes on my team, it's mandatory. And my team is small, and I'm excited to say it like that. But because my team is small, but they're dangerous. They are
Right.
dangerous, man.
Wow.
Because we all operate with this very, very, very same mentality. And they, when they leave me, some of the couple of them, they're more aggressive than I am, because they say, and one of them just messaged me this morning, and it's things like this that just keep me going. And he literally said, man, thank you for everything that you did for me, not only me, but for me and my family. And it's really because when you really that's what I believe about a team, is that it's just more than just about working together. Like me personally, if there's somebody that comes in and I don't feel like that this is going to be like a lifelong thing, I'd rather just keep, the small team rather than having rotation. Because another thing that you learn, you got to be real careful about who and what you allow to penetrate what you built, because they can come in with wrong motives, or you can have somebody that comes in with a mentality that isn't a part of the culture that you built, and they come in and they start talking, or this happens, and then you infect one person, and then you can infect the rest. So I'm very, very, very careful about that. Very careful.
Wow. That is absolutely awesome and big. I mean, I know in my life this morning, and I have my successes, my duty, my Grant Cardone bracelets on. I've been listening to Grant Cardone probably for about 6 years. I'm a 10X ambassador. I listen to him every single morning, and I get my prayer in before I do that. So I do the exact same thing.
You want to know?
And this morning,
where do you think this came from? The principle.
And I've taken my family to the 10X Growth Conferences for the last 2 years straight now, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. Keys to Success was actually created from me attending the last growth conference in Vegas, and so absolutely agree with you 110% that the mindset and the things that you listen to, it really makes a difference. And like you said, that aggression that Grant has, I think his birthday is 3 days before mine. That's something that just resonates with me. And whenever I go to Grant with the growth conferences, I feel like I'm around family. I'm like, finally, people that get it, and then they can take that, because not a lot of people can take that harshness in their face, like it's a reality of just calling you out.
And the beauty and the thing about that, once you get to, I guess, the level where we are, you understand that, and you understand that that's okay, and you avoid those people.
Right.
In this business or in this life, you're meant for a certain circle, not to convince that circle that you're for that circle. When they come, and it's sometimes some things that you can't teach people. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them bad at all. But what you're doing in life is just like the biblical story. God took 10,000 down to 300, and he said, "Watch what I do with this 300."
Wow.
And when you understand that, it's just like, dude, I don't need everybody. I need the strongest of the strongest. I need the people that if I call and everything is going hell, they're like, yo, don't worry, I got your back. I'm there. Boom, boom, don't worry about it. We're going to get it taken care of. You need the strongest of the strong. And it's not easy to find those people. And that's exactly what Grant said.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I know even in my circle, I'm like, if I could just hire everyone off the, 10X websites and the growth conference websites and all of that, life would just be a better place, because they get it, and it's easy to work with people like that. So that's phenomenal.
It's easier to work with people like that. And then also the beautiful part is you actually enjoy being around those people, because I'm going to tell you how the conversations change based off of the circle. The conversations will change from where now when I'm on vacation or we're traveling, or people will see that I'll be in Colombia. They'll see like the party and stuff, but there's times where we just randomly have mastermind sessions, and we don't even know they're mastermind sessions, just sitting in the living room at the kitchen. And before we know it, we've been there talking for about 2 hours. You know what I mean? The same thing just recently happened at my condo on Saturday. It was random. And they came over, I was serving the drinks. And then before you know it, I helped 4 people get close to $1 million in funding. That wasn't even the intent. I was just sitting there talking, and they were like, yo, well, we're thinking about this and this and this and this and this. And I said, you know what? I know something that can help you. Let me check this out real quick. While we're all just in the living, and on a Saturday afternoon, we could be, and we were literally there talking about our next ventures. I was there with a couple of the partners, and we were just there talking, and that's how our Saturday ended up going. But and I love that, just the way that the conversations will change when you change.
That's amazing, amazing stuff. Thank you so much for dropping that info. Absolutely appreciate it. And definitely for our viewers, thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Hopefully you are enjoying all of the keys that Mr. Robert Yancy is dropping. Absolutely amazing stuff. So, you know, with your pastor and having Grant Cardone, and along with just having that positive mindset and incorporating all of that in with real estate, let's talk a little bit about you being a real estate investor and agent. Is that
okay?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about
that. What questions do you have about that? It's because this is so broad. Oh no, okay, I'll start off with this. So I started off as a real estate investor. And anytime I start doing something, it's very easy for me to see the flaws in the next step. So as a real estate investor, you need a good real estate agent. When I was an investor, I realized that agents were terrible. And listen, I said this the other day on another live video for 365 magazine. I don't mean this to offend anybody. I just say this so that maybe you take that and be like, man, you know what? Maybe I'm not giving my properties, the best of my attention. Maybe I am relying on the MLS too much. Maybe I should start doing my showings in person. This is the type of stuff. And I know this because I worked side by side with an agent for years that, I don't get too personal to it, but and I would watch how the lack of attention that a property will get. Now, for me as an investor, I take that personal, because if you've ever done a fix and flip before, you know the type of stuff that we go through just to get that property to be able to ready to market 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 months worth of work. And you don't have enough initiative to say, you know what, at least for the first week and a half, for the first week, the first initial 10 showings, I have to be there, because I need to hear the feedback. Because I would remember listing the properties, not giving everything into the property. Mind you, this is when it was actually tough to sell property. So everybody that's watching and that's excited now, go back to 2014 and let's talk about the retail market, when the banks were still taking almost 60 days to close loans, right? This was a different market. I can go back even further into 2012, 11 and 12, because I was actually flipping retail then. But I realized that they actually didn't even have the training that to say, hey, let me go and find. So the property would be on the market for about a week and a half. And I'm like, she's like, oh, we had 10 showings. I was like, okay, what did the people say? I don't know. I haven't talked to them. Oh, so you're trying to tell me you haven't followed up with them? Oh, well, they sent some feedback. Did you pick up the phone to talk a little bit further? And I knew that this is exactly what I did. I said, don't worry about it. I said, I'll show it the next time. Right. I showed it on a Thursday to 2 people. I sold it to the first one.
Wow.
And mind you, and it hit me right then and there. I said, these people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And what I use techniques, once again, free techniques. I saw it on $1 million listings. So I said, if these guys are doing this on $1 million houses, it should be able to kill on $150,000 houses. So I remember like it was yesterday. I went into the property. I turned on all the lights, the ceiling fans, put some air freshener on, opened up the windows. So now you saw light, you saw life, you saw this, you saw that. And you had somebody walking you through, bringing value to the property outside of it already being a good property. So I knew right then and there that I either needed to be the agent or I needed to be the one that trains the agents on how to sell our properties. So I went a couple of years trying to train, and it just didn't work. So I just said, forget it. I'm going to go back and get my license. And, I got it back at the beginning of the year. My days on market for all my properties have been, with the exception of one, and I knew it was going to happen, was all under 5 days. Most have been 24 to 48 hours.
Wow. That is
and the one that didn't, I already knew it was because they wanted me to overprice it. And I said, hey, if you want me to do this, I'm just warning you. And then we went down to the price that I said, 214 over in Gresham Park, and it sold in 5 days. I was like, yo, sometimes you get clients that don't want to listen.
Right. Wow. That is
So the investing is simple, right? Everybody knows investing is, I look at investing as the bank, which is why I don't do too much when it comes to you know, we used to do a lot of the, you know, real estate events and stuff like that. There's just, so coming forward now, I know I take the real estate investing portion for exactly what it is. And I did a presentation on this where I show people how your real estate investment company is your bank, right? I don't have to go to Wells Fargo. I don't have to go to any hard money. I don't have to go to anybody. Why? Because my retail flipping business is my bank. For for the companies that we acquire, we do it through real estate. How? Because all you're doing is reallocating those funds, but which forces you to actually get out here and do work, which most people don't want to do. You gotta get out here and you gotta flip these houses. You gotta get out here and you gotta wholesale these houses. You have to do it like a business. So what happened was I broke out of the traditional mindset. None of the properties that we do in our investment company, we don't work off of any of the percentages that they teach people. We don't work off a 65% ARV, 75%. We don't work off of any of that. Okay. Why? Because I started understanding what most people sell to hedge funds, but don't even understand what hedge funds actually do.
Wow.
And a hedge fund's job, they raise capital, and then two is to grow that capital to be able to give your investors back their return, but also to make a lot of money for the people who actually own the fund. So, right. which is why you saw hedge funds snatching properties up left and right. Some margins were big, some margins were small, some of them were like razor thin. But what happened? They're continuously profiting through the thing. What they teach people in real estate, what they teach you now is that, oh, this property has to be this. Do you know how long it actually takes today to find a property 65% ARV?
I mean, for a day or 2 days.
It's not that easy.
No.
And the ones that you do find on that, then on top of that, you have to think about the time frame. See, what most people don't understand in investing is the time frame. I don't care. You can show me something 50% ARV, but it's going to take 12 months and I won't do it.
Right. Exactly.
Why? There's too much time. So what I shifted from the traditional thinking to saying we need to generate as much capital as fast as possible with at least risk as possible.
Right.
That's more so now. Now you're going into the Wall Street with the Wall Street mentality of doing it, or traders like you. When you get into to trading, see, I studied a lot of different types of investing and investors, and you have to see their mentalities. Mm-hmm. Real estate is one of the few where people come in and they just start swinging for the fence, which takes time. Like those are home runs, but people love the home run kings, but they never actually pay attention to the game of baseball and understand that in order to even get that home run, the guy that hit the home run on base, all his other guys have to just get on base. They can't strike out, get on base, the single, a double, or this or that. So we run our investment business like baseball.
Wow. So you in that concept, you just, again, you studied a bunch of different investment types and you just said, let's put together a strategy that actually works based on the things that I'm seeing in the market. Yes.
And let me tell you, man, it simplified it. It really simplified it. Wow. So now everything is calculated based off of the numbers, is based off of the time in the project. And it's based off of, I call it in the risk versus reward, which is what stock traders talked about a lot. I paid a lot of money to go through that. I to go to learn how to trade Forex and never made one trade, but learned the most valuable lesson by doing that.
Wow, that is phenomenal stuff. And so you said you don't currently market having a training to teach others how to invest in real estate.
No, and I say this only because I truly believe that it's very difficult because the training, you can't do it in the classroom in a weekend. It won't happen. And what people know about, and they've heard conversations I've had, I can see where there's flaws. So like, I don't want to do it and then not have the time to give the people, right? Because you actually need this, or when they get a phone call come in, I need to figure this part out. So the training almost needs to be like, you guys are coming in and it's almost like a school. So I'm still debating. On if that's the direction that we want to go. Personally, as of right now, I would say no. Right. Just for the simple fact that I said this before and some people took offense to it. I said, if you really understand how to make a kill in this business, you're not in a rush to give that information away.
This is true. And a lot of times you have people that are training, and so you can make money from the training and things like that. So
Yeah, and usually I see that, but then you have this is another going back to clarity, right? So clarity for me was getting to a place financially where I only make decisions based off of what I believe I'm supposed to do, which is that direction, right? So which is why we went so hard in the investing portion. So you get to a point where you're practically debt free. You're not really worried. The income that's coming in is just like everything is. So that's why when people can approach you with opportunities, you can say no to an opportunity because you can say, I don't need the money.
Right.
I want to do something where I go to sleep at night and I feel good. I know that I'm truly helping people, not just filling the room and giving people, a nice motivational speech. And then they're going home and they're just like, oh, well, okay, what do I do now? And that's what's happening. But that's never been my strategy.
Right.
You know what I mean? I can make six figures from laying in the bed, right? I don't have to get up and get dressed up and go and talk to a crowd of people. But so when I do it, I want it to be in the most effective manner as possible. So therefore we focus. So we go back to investing. We do investing hardcore, so we don't have to worry about that.
Wow. That's awesome. Great.
Right.
That's amazing. So, I mean, investing, what is your actual strategy and what you're doing as far as investing now? Are you buying and holding? Are you rehabbing? What are some of the things that
I've done it all. Everything around the thing we've done. And once I understood myself as an investor, I have my own investor personality. I no longer do buy and holds. And if you want me to explain that down afterwards, I can, because it's kind of a long thing. But the people that are doing it now, you'll find out 4 years from now, you'd be like, damn, if I go back, I wouldn't do it. But so we're focusing on fix and flipping, which is obviously it's the easiest strategy, but we're focusing on fix and flips at a certain price range, certain days on market, so that there's a little circle that I follow. Now, if it hits all those points, I'll do it. I don't care where it is, right? I don't focus on the belt line. I don't focus on whatever side of town. I mean, we're all over the place. We're in Marietta right now, College Park, Stone Mountain. Where else? We were in Doraville. Like it's wherever it pops up. So what we do, we just focus on getting the leads, right? And I want to be, shout out to a lot of the whole people. Nobody ever really says thank you to the wholesalers, the people that are out there really hustling. But you guys are making this a phenomenal year from me, and I'm paying out some large assignment fees. But it doesn't bother me because they're laid the groundwork to give me the opportunity. And most people, so the people who talk about wholesalers, you should really think about that, because they're giving you the opportunity for you to be able to buy a property that you would have never been able to find, which in return gives your household additional income. It puts your kids through college. It puts food on your table. Right. So see, that's where you start having a clear head. Where every wholesaler, I'll buy from anybody. I don't care. Right. And you don't even got to double close it to sign it. I won't give you an attitude because I understand the game. I'm not worried about that because I'm worried about next year. I'm worried about where we're going. So I'm not worried about that. Hey, he did his job. If he negotiated a hell of a deal, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. So we focus on just really trying to generate leads ourselves as well as buying from other people. So fix and flipping is right now number one. Wholesaling is still in there. And our group, we're doing good as far as liquidity, so that we don't wholesale a lot of our deals. We buy most of this stuff. The only way that I will wholesale, most of the time, the only way I'll wholesale a deal is if it's just a project that I don't want to do. Right. And there are some projects where once again, you have to know your investor personality. I am not a builder. I am not what you want to call like a level 5 rehabber. I can be. I was good at I just don't want to do it. Right. 6-8 months, permits, extensions, all this other stuff. Look, at the present moment, I don't have time for that right now. I used to do it. Now, no. So those ones we sell to the guys who want to do that.
Wow.
And wholetailing has been a strategy that I've been using before it became popular. Right. And I use that like nobody's business. I tell people all the time, it's the easiest money you ever wanted to make in the world.
Wow. If
the margin is good enough, why fight with the off-market investors? Put it on the market.
Wow, amazing stuff. And you said there's a circle and formula that you put together. And I'm sure that's a combination of all the things that you've learned from the Forex and from the hedge fund. And so if any property fits within that criteria, no matter the location, you will move on it as long as the project is not going to last too long.
Yep.
Wow, that's amazing. And is that something that you share with others, or you're like, this is our company's bread?
I'll give you the sauce, because like, but what happens is that most people can't see it. So I'll give you a project. The project that we did in Doraville, I'll give you the full. So the wholesaler released the property at they released it at $89,000, right? I ended up paying $99,000 for it, because I wasn't going to let the property go. So the first thing is that your analysis has to be on another level. Mine is on another level because I understand all the buyers. I understand all the exit strategies. So for this particular one, they underestimated the ARV. The ARV they put on there, it was 145,000. As soon as I opened up, I saw one that had just sold 2 weeks ago, and it was in terrible condition, and it sold for 162. I said, okay, so right now my comp is 160. I was like, I don't care what they said. But I said there's a potential of 160 to 179, which is what we sold it for, was 179. So it was perfectly okay for me. That most people would have said, damn, I can't believe you overpaid for it. No, I paid for it so that I didn't lose the 30,000 that we made on the back end.
Wow.
Right now, could it have been? So basically, I went in and there's a strategy that I have. That one, people have to. I have like 2 strategies that will guarantee you'll never lose another offer.
Wow.
But I only use it when it's necessary. And so we did that one, the renovation. So I ended up paying 100,000 for it with closing costs. The renovation was only supposed to be 30. It cost about 45 because we ran into a water issue. We had to dig up the whole right side of the condo, which is very unusual. And so we did that. Once it was all said and done, after closing costs and commission, everything, I was able to walk away with, it was like 30, 33, but I paid myself a commission because that's my job. I run the company with my job. I'm still getting paid. So it was about 30 ish. And it was the 3.5 week project.
Wow. Awesome.
Right. So, but numbers wise, that number didn't make sense on any percentage, because when you looked at it, they say, no, the margin's too tight. Sometimes you have to look deeper into it. And don't ever take anybody's word for it. Right. So I analyze every property that we do. So why I picked that one, because there was limited inventory in the property. So what they teach you to go back 6 months. I go back a year. I have to see the entire movement. Now, how did I come up with that strategy? Because all stock traders and forexers, they look at maps, and not maps, but they look at they look at the schedule. They go back sometimes, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Sometimes they'll go back 5 days, 10 days. They go back way further than you would, because now they have to come up with a probability of which direction is going to go. So they go back to get as much information as possible. So I said, well, why don't I just start doing that with the real estate? So I started looking back a year and saw that only 3 units had sold in this subdivision in a year, which let me know that this was a neighborhood where people weren't selling. And I turned right around. I looked at the days on market. The highest days on market was 14 days. I looked at all of that, and I said, oh man, this thing is golden. I was like, I would have paid 105 for it, because it still would have went. Right. But because I'm not necessarily looking for the ROI that people are looking at, the goal is to get to a certain amount of liquidity. So which means I need to generate as much capital as possible and as fast as possible. So we took it down, we knocked it out. And so we did days on market. I go back a year on the search just to see the availability. Now what would have made this a terrible deal is if the days on market were 60 days.
Right.
That would have been the one thing that would have broken. I was like, I'm not standing in that thing that long.
Right.
So, or if there was a lot of inventory. So I don't flip in areas with high inventory. So if I go in there, I don't care what the comps say. And they said that there's a lot. All I see is green in the MLS. I just click out, because I don't want to try to convince myself to get into a project. I said, nope, this ain't for me. Let's move on to the next one.
Right.
So days on market. Yeah, days on market, how long it'll take you to do the project. Then also you have to pay attention to the buyer's loans or the type of purchases that have happened in that neighborhood. So if you see all conventional or something like that, you're like, okay, people are moving over here. They have the resources. They're putting down their raw payment. If it's all FHA, you kind of got to be like, sometimes that can, but I'll still do it. Or if there's cash purchases. So I look at all those different factors. And because I go through so many different items, you come up with a full picture. And I can look at something. I say, there's no way that I'll lose money on this deal. Wow. But when the Forex guys, they have a checklist, I think of it's like between 7 to 10 things that they have to check before a trade. I'm like, man, that's a lot.
Yeah. Wow. That is amazing.
Yep.
Great information and good to know. I mean, just creating a system around what you're doing, creating a system around real estate and having that consistent checkpoint, that consistent list that says, hey, if it meets this, we're buying it. That's really brilliant stuff. And the fact that you're doing it to build up liquidity for future investments, for some things that may happen in the future, to say, hey.
Which is, and that's all. That's a part. Now that's a part of the training that I do. So what I did was I didn't want to teach real estate like everybody else. I have more than enough knowledge to do it. Way more than enough. I just didn't want to do it because I feel like that portion of the market it is what it is, right? Without getting too, specific about it. It just is what it is. And do I want to spend the time and the money branding and this and that? Like, my track record is what it is. Like, I'm one of the few people that I know in 12 years, I have only lost money on 2 properties.
Wow.
2. I know people that have done that this year.
Oh, wow. That's horrible.
Year after year after, because we've been so careful and you analyze it. And there's certain things you have to be okay with, saying no to. But I always tell people that but the thing is, most people, they don't go into these businesses with a plan. And that's what I found out when we were actually doing the events. Like, before you do anything, if you don't have a plan, and the plan has to be ironclad, set in stone, there's nothing in this that's going to change. I'm sold out to this thing. This is it. There is no other option.
Right.
Then everything else works off of that. So the whole point of this business, you ask people, what's the point? Why do I do real estate? Why is this? Why do you do that? Why? Most people can't answer. They'll say, oh, because I wanted to get off my job. That's not really a good excuse. Sometimes it's better for you to stay on your job, because this is an ugly business.
Right.
I tell people that. I said, dude, I'm happy you're excited, but you better make sure you're ready to come out and do this thing full time. And I get the people that come after they've gone through all that stuff. But you really have to start with that. So the goal for real estate, that's why I just say real estate is the bank. Don't complicate it, right? Get in, make all that money you do, but there's a big portion of the market where I believe that I'm going to step in and we're going to be able to add some real value. But my time in the financial services industry opened up an entire another world of why people have to work so long.
Wow.
Right. And when I tell you, I think that's the most powerful thing that I have to give to the market, not teaching people real estate. I prefer for a client to come to me, let me organize them and set them up financially, and then I can refer them to who I think is the best real estate trainer. I think that's the best thing, because we really show people how to come up with a financial foundation that no matter what happens, business goes bad, COVID hits. I swear 6 months ago, we were talking about this overseas and I knew something was coming. I said, I just didn't know what it was. Like, I was scared. And I was like, man, but all I could say was, I was like, I'm ready. I was prepared.
Wow. That is so important. So if someone wanted to come to you for the financial analysis, how would they link up with you? And I know normally the show is 30 minutes, but I've let this go because you have so many nuggets that
man, I didn't even know. No, so every
you go, because
so
you are training and telling the people that it's really important that they get that information.
Yeah, man, I think our group is going to bring on that portion of it it's like the most important thing, because I truly believe that this is the thing that's going to keep you in check. And this is the thing that will keep you in business. So something just as simple as I'm always, the easiest way to contact me is social media. So on Facebook, it's Robert Yancy. And then on IG, it's Mr. _INVESTATL. So it's very, and I'm always I'm always on social media. But just if you guys take this one thing with you, I have I don't even know what to call it, calculator, or how I break down when I get paid, right? So every check that comes in, not at the end of the month, every check that comes in, because we're a numbers business, right? Everything is percentages. So 50 to 60% of that check, or whatever it is, goes away into the fund, which means that's the investment fund. I don't care where the money came from, whether it came from credit consulting, whether it came from a wholesale deal, hotel deal. 50 to 60% of it is gone the moment that it wires the account.
Wow.
Right, 50 to 60% is gone. Then it changes based off of your circumstances. I know people that have bigger families. I think it's okay to lower it, but I still think 50% should be the threshold. But by the end of this, you'll see why. And everything is timing. So 50%, it's normally is 50, 20, 20, 10. That's 100%, right? Yeah. So 50% is supposed to go back into the reinvestment fund or the savings or whatever for when that opportunity comes. You can pounce on it, right? So then that other 20%, this can be between 20 to 30, depending on your lifestyle. You should be able to live off of that 20 to 30%, which means mortgage, this, that, blah, blah, whatever that comes into, right? I like to try to keep 10% for what I like to call debt elimination or debt escalation. So this has nothing to do with the bills that you're paying. I also show people in financing how debt is actually one of the main reasons why you can never move forward, right? So I always say take that additional 10% and start and make your additional payments to your mortgages, make additional payments to your car payments. There's some people that tell people that you should never finance. Let me tell you something. If they're giving you the money, you better use it. But understand your interest rates. And then also basically, I show people where if you're going to get loans, get it responsibly and pay them off way faster.
Right.
Way faster than you're supposed to. So that's where that extra additional 10% comes from. So now we're either at 90% or 80%. Now, I do believe that there is 10% of it should be towards tithing, but this is where I kind of cut it, right? So I say you can either do it for tithing or you can do it for your own charitable cause. So which means if you wanted to take 10% of your income and you wanted to sponsor single mothers' bills every single month, trust me, God ain't going to be mad at you. Right. So I break it down like that. So what happens is if you follow this model, especially if you're on and going, you follow this model for 1 year, I guarantee you on year 2, your percentages are going to change, but your life is going to change. Right. So now you got so much money that's sitting in this fund that now you're doing, maybe I would say let's say twice the amount of investing that you were doing the year before, which means more checks that are coming in. So it's still like 50 here, 50 there, but this never changes. And this doesn't change. And I'm going to say something that most people don't even talk about. This 20 to 30% doesn't change until you've hit your FIN. And your FIN is your financial independence number. That means the amount of money that you know that you need so that you never have to go back to work again.
Wow.
If I tell people all the time, if that's not the goal that you have, I don't want to work with you, because you won't understand my aggression. You won't understand why we're so energetic with our team. You know, whatever your number is, if it's 1 million, if it's 1.5, or if it's 5 million, 6 million, there's a roadmap. And while you're working, while they're getting this good, this is what we really, really want people to understand. So this is what makes real estate so easy, because we're not worried about what's happening 10 years, 7, 8 years from now. Look, man, I'm trying to retire in the next 2 years. This is what I got to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that is the one consulting or teaching portion that we will be bringing to the market. Actually, the course is already made. And I was doing speaking engagements for 3 years. I never changed the presentation.
Wow.
It's one presentation. I tell people, I say, this is not the most sexy stuff to talk about, because it's like talking about losing weight. You got to start paying attention to the calories that you intake. You got to pay attention to the amount, the workouts that you're doing. You have to identify areas of the body where you need more work. See, everything is so detailed, rather than just saying, I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna do cardio.
Right.
And I teach people how take the personal trainer route rather than just going in and doing the workouts yourself.
Wow, that is awesome. Well, I know for my company, I'm definitely interested in finding out more. And to our viewers, I'm sure they're absolutely interested in finding out more, especially if they're in the real estate space, because it's so important to have that iron out plan. And you may have your own plan, but it always helps to learn from others, especially others who are absolutely showing success in their area of the business.
Yeah, it's that part, like I said, it's so important. And when I broke it down and I looked at the numbers and I looked at how much time that we had wasted and this and that, and I said, dude, this thing only takes 5 years in and out, 5 years. And that's the truth. Now, so now you have to ask yourself a question. The people who've been doing this for 15 and 17 and 20 years, what exactly have you been doing? What have they been focusing on? That now, mind you, listen, don't nobody jump in my inbox going in talking stuff. But these are questions that I had to start asking myself because I was spending a lot of time around these environments where I'm like, okay, I'm around 20-year-old veterans, and I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get somewhere. So it's not about just making money. It's not about just who's making the most beautiful houses. What it's really about is what is your end goal? What do you really want to do? And most people don't really want to do real estate for 30 years.
Right. No.
Can I preach? Can we be real? No, nobody. Listen, I did it in my last piece. I described them as raggedy ass houses. I said, dude, nobody wants to be flipping raggedy houses your whole life. Maybe you want to start going into development, right? And start building towns. If most people can't see, I'll turn this, but my office is located over in where I think is one of the sweetest developments ever in the Battery and over off of Cobb Parkway.
Right.
Why this is so dream wise? It's like, if we're going to be in this industry, why are we not doing this? I mean, there are cranes everywhere. This entire development, beautiful stuff like this. This is what, so you want to work your way off of one. It's in a mind, it's constantly growing. So you want to do wholesaling? Let's get into flipping. You want to do flipping? Let's go into, we'll go into building. Now I want to go building. Now let's try to do a subdivision.
Right.
Bigger bang for your buck and easier to get investors.
Absolutely, Gems. I mean, great information, phenomenal content. I want to thank you so very much for being on the show today. Before we get the air, I had a question. I know you said you traveled out of the country. How important is traveling when it comes to business and taking a moment to just take it?
I'm going to tell you, it is almost as important as the first two things of finding the right things to bring into your body. Traveling changed my life.
Right.
Traveling, every time I go places, I go somewhere and I always come back with more than what I went with. And when I travel, and it's weird you said that, I'm leaving tomorrow.
Wow.
With restrictions and everything. We're going somewhere it's going to be, secluded. I'm not going to be around a bunch of people. But to be able to go somewhere where you can be in silence or you can just be by yourself and not worried about a lot of things. And you go with something as simple as this. And this is the new book that I just bought that's going with me, and jot down every single thing that you want to do over the next 6 months. But you're doing it with clarity. You're doing it with, I don't have to take this phone call. You're doing it with that. And before I realized that what we were onto, or what I had been doing, I saw that Bill Gates does the same thing. He go, and it was wild when I saw that. So traveling, one, it keeps you motivated, especially depending on the places you go. It makes you yearn for that even more. So when I'm here, so in my mentality, when I'm home, I don't do anything outside of striving towards those goals. I reward myself by going out of the country, or my partying is getting on the plane and going somewhere and then posting videos. So that's how I reward myself. You know what I mean? So traveling is so important. And then you may just find that there's something outside of here that kind of grabs you. It may be another cause, it may be a mission, it may be something, or you may just say, hey, like what happened to me. I found a town in South America that I said, this is where I want to raise a family.
Wow.
This is, I want my kids to grow up multicultural. I want they'll have everything, like privately tutored. They're going to speak English, Spanish, French. You know, they're going to be there. You think I'm bad? They're going to be way better than I am. And they're going to have their own businesses by the time they're 15. So they ain't going to need me for nothing. Right. But being able to be put in a position to where I'm thinking about when I do have a family, how I want it to be for them. You know what I mean? So just things like that. That's what traveling does for you. And then, like I said, traveling to me is better than the monetary things here. And it's funny when people, I say certain things and then you look and you're like, well, it's a total contradiction, right? There's like, because you drive supercars, but you're like, oh, you don't want to have nice stuff. I was like, well, you know, everybody has to experience stuff. And I promise you, 6 months after I got my car, I said, I wish I had never got it.
Wow.
First thing that I said, man, it had nothing to do with the money. Nothing to do with that. It's just that stuff wears off. But those memories from traveling and like they never go away. They never go away. And they motivate you to come home and go extra hard because you say, yo, I want my life to be like this every single day. So it's a domino effect. You do this, you reward yourself with that. It makes you even more hungry and excited. And then, so therefore, you know, okay, there's still more that I need to learn. I need to work a little bit harder, maybe. And then, so when you come back, but when you're there, I promise you, and I can, if anybody does this and you just inbox me and tell me you're right, there are ideas that will come to you in moments of clarity that you would not have gotten here. Every single time I've gone away, I came back. And the credit consulting business, that's where it came from. I was literally in a cafe in Colombia, just sitting there with nothing to do. And I just started writing in my book. And it was just kind of like, well, you have been thinking about, and I wrote it down. Yeah. And boom, it's here.
Yeah. I know for me in my business, I try to travel at least once a quarter, if not twice a quarter. And with the Keys to Success show, whenever I'm on the plane, I never watch a movie. I never listen to music. I always have my pen and pad out and I'm always writing and connecting. Mm-hmm. And the Keys to Success show came to me and just a bunch of other really good ideas that came to me. And I'm like, if I have the longer the flight, the more I'm so excited. Because I'm like, I get to write and it's going to be quiet and it's going to be silent. And I'm looking around and everyone's watching movies. And I'm like, do they not?
Yeah. And I never thought that I would get to the point where I'm 35 now. And whenever I talk to people, like my friends that are having problems, there's a sermon that I can refer them to. Or if they're having problems with motivation, there's a book that I can refer. I was terrible in school. And now I'm the guy that's motivating people. Yo, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be all right. God's got your back. Don't get down. But it's just in you every single day, because when you really live what you believe, and I'll tell people, I said this to somebody the other day, I don't feel like I sell, because I'm a walking testimony of what I'm trying to get you to understand. Right. So I'm not, if I'm selling you something that happened, I mean, with the credit consulting business, right? I tell them how having a 780 opposed to a 680 changes everything. And when I give them the same, I said, dude, with the moment that I hit a 780, verification goes out of the window. You go to your mortgage, you get the best prime rate. Boom. They don't ask you for down payment on cars, no matter how much. So there's things that they don't even understand. Every time you go somewhere, approve this, that. So I'm not selling you. So if you get off the phone and you're not ready to move forward, dude, that's your fault. I still got a near 800 score when you get off the phone, because I'm walking. So I know, I said, I did my part. Right. To let you know. So me and people I work with, we don't hard sell, we don't shame sell, we don't do none of that, because if what you have is truly good enough, then people are ready. And sometimes you just have to give people time to process it. Right. But you're not worried about it. Why? Because you're investing full time. So everything else that's coming is just like, okay, if they say, okay, that's extra, that goes into the pot. I know, but what we focus on always making sure that we have real estate inventory, because that is our bank. So we're always buying, timing, all that stuff. So
wow. Well, thank you so very much for being on the show today. Thank you for our viewers for tuning in today. Thank you, Cedric. Thank you, Jason, Octavia, Damon, John, Lexington. Thank you guys so very much for tuning in. And Robert, thank you for sharing some of your keys to success. This was massive. I'm so grateful to have you on the show today. Who knew you were a wealth of so much great information? So grateful.
And I get that a lot, but because I made a decision 2 years ago, 2.5 years, 2 years ago, that I said I didn't want to speak anymore. I said I didn't want to speak and I didn't want to train anymore because I was waiting for him to tell me what it is that he wanted me to show people. And that takes a lot of discipline because I was watching, I was like, oh my God, these people. But I said, I'm not doing so. I think the last magazine, that was my first interview or live thing in over 2 years. I've been asked to do a lot of things and I declined just because I said it's not right. So I just believe in moving in purpose. And if you're not, you're just like, I don't even get into that. I just say, this is just how we're moving and and I don't want to do anything that he hasn't, laid out for me or told me to do. So it causes you to be very patient and it causes you to pray a lot. And you ask, you say, God, what is it that you want me to do? What, not me, not my will. What is it that you want me to do? And he tells you.
Yes, I love it.
So you told me to accept this. When you messaged me, I was like, yeah, man. I was like, I'll do it.
Well, thank you so very much. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for sharing your information.
My pleasure.
And thank you to our viewers. Robert, I appreciate you being on the show. And to our viewers, definitely tune in every Tuesday and Thursday where we interview local business professionals and entrepreneurs to discuss some of their keys to success in their business and their life. Robert, you have an absolutely safe and amazing trip. And I definitely look forward to connecting with you when you return. Until next time, you guys have an absolutely blessed afternoon.
Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.